about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
On the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOC-DALI. All right, so before we begin, I have to talk about this because this is something that I've been kind of waiting for when, as it pertains to Trump being in office. We got to be very, very careful with red lines. And when Trump had said, when he gets into office, he wants to get those hostages home. After Hamas slaughtered, 1,200 people on October 7th, a year and a half ago, and here we are with hostages still in captivity, and as they're being released, they look like they've been through hell, emaciated. I don't know how many are still alive and what condition they're in. And Trump had said before he got into office, he's going to raise hell if Hamas doesn't release the hostages right away. And there was this agreement where they'll release 3 here and a few here and then a ceasefire. And then yesterday they said, oh, the ceasefire's off and all this back and forth. Well, Trump isn't playing. And he basically is now given a deadline. And this is pretty powerful. He said that all hostages need to be released by Saturday at 12 o'clock. If not, all hell breaks out. Let all hell break out. Now, a Hamas spokesperson said there's no place for the language of threats. Okay, really? You raped, you killed, you beheaded babies. All you're going to get are this. I think you don't deserve the pretty please. Let them go. This is flipping ridiculous. And they're dying. In fact, when they found some of the hostages who were shot and killed, they were so emaciated, so starved, so beat up that they can't be 1 second in captivity over there. And so they had said they were going to indefinitely scrap a scheduled hostage release, claiming Israel had violated the ceasefire agreements. Trump told reporters last night that while the decision ultimately rests on Israel's shoulders, because this is, most of them are Israeli. He said, as far as I'm concerned, if all the hostages aren't returned by Saturday, 12 o'clock, I think it's an appropriate time. He said, I would say cancel it and all bets are off and let hell break out. So, I understand that, people are like, no, okay, Trump isn't very tactful. And I guess under the ceasefire agreement, the next hostage release was going to be 33 for a bunch of Palestinian prisoners. And there's still, I think, 90 left or 85? I'm not sure how many are left. But here's the thing. And, we've learned this with parenting. We've learned this in general. Okay, you can't make empty threats. We learned this with Obama's red line in Syria. All right, when there are lives at stake, we can't dink around. And we have a terror group that is allowed to do whatever the hell they want to do to them. They should have never taken them to begin with. These were innocent civilians. This wasn't on a battle where people were fighting and prisoners of war. This was a peace rally. This was a kibbutz. And they decide to, I'm not going to go over all the horrific tragedies, but we had a friend whose niece was thrown into tires, lit on fire and burned alive, people being raped and shot in the head. I don't even want to go into all the horrific things they did, not to mention the babies, and have hostages see their family members killed. All right, not 1 second should pass without these hostages coming home. But Gaza and Hamas has a very intricate network of tunnels and hiding places. So to get to it, you have to shell, or do very delicate ops, and it's been going on this long. And I love the fact that we finally have a president that wants to bring our American hostages home, let alone help the other hostages. I don't know what the right answer is, but I think Hamas better take Trump's threat seriously. And I just don't understand why the world isn't taking this seriously. I think there was just an attack on a women's prison. I forget which country that happened, where they went in, they just went into the women's prison and then brutally raped and murdered them. We have atrocities happening all over the world. The reason why we have the UN is so atrocities don't happen again, so the Holocaust doesn't happen again. And there are people being raped and killed it seems like every day. And we know the terror group has the hostages. We know they're there. And I don't understand why Biden let this go as long. And I'm not saying we put American troops on the ground. I'm not saying that. But any innocent person, that I don't understand why there isn't world support. Every single country should have seen this and said, we're going to help. Every single country should see what's happening in the other countries where innocent civilians are being attacked. And I understand to try to achieve world peace is difficult, but there should be a general rule. Okay, this isn't soldiers fighting soldiers. When Putin came in and we heard Ukrainians were being raped and murdered, come on. Where is, where are the world governing bodies that are supposed to step in and say, no, this isn't happening? And it makes the other countries look weak. America looks weak. Hamas has had American hostages for what, 439 days? How many days? And what? Biden, I mean, you messed with one of us, you messed with all of us. Oh, hell no. And I think we need to show strength. Now, does Trump have a plan? I mean, I'm sure he's been working on something, because before he took office, he said he wants to make sure all the hostages come back, and there are Americans there. So I'm not sure what the op would look like, and I'm sure we're not going to get details. But I think it's about time that this has gone on long enough, and I think Israel does need America's help. And so bring them home. To me, Saturday's too late. But they better bring those hostages home, because they're dying and they're being tortured. 1-877-DOC-DALI.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hotshot Secret, powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians, only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. And also, for any of you that miss any of the Dr. Daliah Show, you can go to our website at drdaliah.com. So flu activity is spiking again, and we see this often. We do see multiple peaks throughout the flu season, but oftentimes we have an early part to the flu season and a later part to the flu season. A flu season generally runs mid to late October to May. So it's a lot of months. And we usually see peak flu season end of November, December, January. Well, here we are in February, whereas in previous years we started to see the numbers go down. We're seeing flu spike up. Now, it could also be, we're having, these cold fronts and some of the weather is pretty chilly. And so when the weather does get bad, people like to stay indoors. We do know that wildfire activity can increase virus exposure, as that one study out of Reno showed when the local California wildfires were happening in 2020, that Reno noticed an increase in COVID activity. But this does beg the question, why is flu getting stronger? Is it getting stronger? Why are we seeing such a rebound? Why are we seeing such spikes? And the numbers we're getting, I think, are underestimating. So they say 44 states are reporting very high to high levels of the flu. There's been 24 million illnesses, 310,000 hospitalizations, and 13,000 fatalities, according to the CDC. So 13,000 people have died, 310,000 hospitalizations, pretty high number. But 24 million flu cases, I think, is underestimated because many people are not going in and getting tested. They're not going to the doctor. We are seeing urgent cares overrun, medical offices overrun. They're doing tests, and some places are even citing a shortage of the Tamiflu and the antiviral. But being that we are in mid-February, not that unheard of to still have flu activity. We'll have flu activity till May, but the numbers are pretty high. And so the hospitalizations might have peaked, but other CDC data is saying it's rebounding again. And so don't let your guard down. Now, what is one of the better ways to look at the numbers? Because the problem we have is now that people are calling telemedicine saying, I have the flu. It's actually a benefit in a way, in that they're not running around getting people sick. They're at home. They're getting their treatment, or they're having somebody go to the pharmacy, pick it up so they don't go out there and spread it. So telemedicine is huge and helpful. But on the flip side, if we're not testing them, we don't really know the numbers. And I have seen year after year people say, well, my COVID test was negative, so it must be flu. And then they didn't have flu. They ended up having COVID that just finally showed up positive at a doctor's office. So I really think we need to get a move on making sure more people have flu testing. I love these tests where they test for flu A, flu B, and COVID. That is fantastic. So when somebody says, I have flu, I'm like, have you been tested? And when they show me that test, I could treat them over the phone. I'm like, that's fantastic that you showed me. Still get checked. By the way, flu might not necessarily, the virus might not necessarily kill, but a lot of the, unless it's super severe, but a lot of the secondary things that can happen can. So flu could cause a heart attack. Flu could cause pneumonia. Flu could induce other issues. And so we want to make sure that even if you are diagnosed with flu, somebody looks at you. When you look at the 13,000 people dying and the 318,000 plus hospitalizations, all right, we have to remind people, look, I understand you don't want to get people sick. I understand you're being treated at home, but that doesn't mean to not get checked out. Anytime I diagnose somebody with flu, I check their heart, I check their lungs, and I wanted to make sure they weren't having a pneumonia. And so those are things that I think still need to be done. It's just people now treat at home. It doesn't get logged, so we don't know the true numbers. but I am seeing a lot of people still sick, flu-like activity. So what are the symptoms of flu? Well, the typical symptoms of flu, the textbook, is you could tell me the time of day that your symptoms started. You're like, well, I went to work, I felt good. We had lunch, then we had our 1:30 meeting, and when I was back at my desk at 2:45, it hit me. And it hit me like a truck or a ton of bricks. And then I've had body aches and fever and chills and headache and vomiting and so one is the speed at which the symptoms come on. Fevers are usually higher than 102.5, but I am seeing a lot of individuals in the 101s because some of us might start lower at 97, not necessarily 98. Remember, we talked about this a year or two ago where 98.6 might not be the average temperature of a human being. It might be lower for some. So it's, acute onset, multiple symptoms, cough, at first dry cough, headache, fever, chills, body aches. I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Congestion, sore throat. Sometimes you could get diarrhea, vomiting. But the biggie is the whole body feeling. And now, why does that happen? Why are you telling me the time of day where you felt it all? Well, because remember, when the virus gets absorbed by the cells make more virus because the virus hijacks a cell, and then the cell bursts and more viruses go out. And so it's exponential in terms of the numbers. So one could infect a cell and then thousands of new viral particles or millions of new viral particles. And by the time the body senses this, there's already tons of viral particles. And now what you're feeling is the body's response to there's a virus taking over the body. And so the temperature spikes, and it spikes high because the body is trying to heat this virus out and slow down its ability to replicate and spread. COVID is a little bit more slow. You might start with a headache, you might start with a sore throat, then the next day you might get congested, and then the cough might come in. So it's a little bit more insidious. It's slower. You might have a fever that hits 100, then it might go down, then it might come back. I've seen some flu cases still act like that. I call it the weenie flu, but that looks more like it just the slower onset. Although some COVID could still hit you hard. And then allergies, your nasal discharge is clear. It's repetitive sneezing. It's reactive. Antihistamines could control the symptoms. A lot of people are starting to get allergies. We're coming into allergy season for a lot of us, especially in the desert climates. So allergies is where, you can get a headache. You can be congested, but your nasal mucus is very clear. You have very consistent, almost predictable sneezing. You go outside, you start to sneeze. You don't necessarily have the body aches. Your throat may be more itchy. Your eyes might be itchy. So, there are differences between all of these. But why is flu this year taking advantage? So one is, I think, the weather patterns. And I think some of the things that have happened weather-wise and wildfire-wise. Two is COVID had its peak earlier. We had tons of COVID in the fall. And so while it's going down, now flu has a chance at the cells. Flu's like, I could go. I could get in there. Another thing is a lot of people didn't vaccinate. Whereas people were getting the flu shot year after year after year. I have to admit, this is the first year I did not get the flu shot. I got the flu shot all the way up until last year, but I hesitated because of the side effects I had because I got it at the same time as the COVID. And so I was a little nervous because I didn't have time to get side effects, even though I usually tolerate the flu shot really, really well. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. I didn't get the flu shot this year. Now, thank God I didn't get the flu. But if a lot of people were like, you know what? I've done a lot of vaccines. I want to give my body a break. We have a lot of people that didn't get the flu shot. And when they didn't get the flu shot, that could put them more at risk. Another issue we're having is the flu vaccine is effective, but at a lower percentage, we believe. We don't know if the flu vaccine is as effective with this particular strain. So if these strains are getting smarter, because COVID is starting to go by the wayside and people have been letting their health go and they're eating a lot of crappy food and they're not sleeping well and then that could also allow flu to be to take advantage. So a medical provider could give you an antiviral like Tamiflu or Zofluza, within 48 hours of your symptoms. So you need to act fast. Now, a lot of us will just wait it out. And most flu symptoms are gone by 5 to 7 days, could go on till 10. But, there's a small window. So if you call on day 5 saying, I'm still sick, you might not be able to be treated for flu. But then again, it might not be flu. So I would recommend getting checked out and getting swabbed. And if you can get these home tests, they're pretty valuable. Get those done. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Imprisonment, forced labor, permanent separation from my family, perhaps death. I knew what could happen to people who were caught trying to defect, but the watchtowers stood yards away. The possibility of a new life in a different world, one without tyranny, was within sight. The West. I thought of the rewards no longer crushed under the boot of communism. I would work and make money, no longer restrained by the chains of collectivism. I would say what I wanted, without fear of spies and informants nearby. I would be free.
Get Defector, a true story of tyranny, liberty, and purpose. A thrilling page-turner that will remind you how precious yet vulnerable freedom is. Available at shopjbs.org or Amazon.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for 1-877 Doc Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So when the Biden administration said, to try to kind of gain voters, we're going to help fight medical debt, I was intrigued because I think medical debt is completely wiping people's finances out. I think things have gotten ridiculously costly. I don't understand why Ozempic has to be $1,000 a month when studies have shown they can make it for $5.40 a month. So I was intrigued on what they were going to do in terms of the cost of healthcare, because Obamacare did nothing to lessen it. Now everybody has high deductibles and their rates went up. But instead, it was, we're going to move to not have it count on your credit score. And I was like, oh, okay, that's might not be the smartest move. So since then, some of you have reached out saying, do I have to pay this bill? If it's not going on my credit, do I just not pay my doctor bills? So I think we need to have a really honest conversation about that, okay? If medical debt does not count and affect your credit, which means if it doesn't affect your credit, a company cannot garnish wages or go after, your income to pay off the bill. And people think then there's no incentive to pay. If you have a medical bill, should you pay it? Now, being a doctor, I'm going to say yes, but here's why. Don't get mad at me. Look, let me just tell you what the situation is. So I don't know if any of you have had any medical procedures, but you're getting shooken down before you even go in for your medical procedure, which we talked about. So many of you are saying you can't even get the test without paying the cash up front. I told you, I couldn't get my hysterectomy. I couldn't get my colonoscopy. I was ready to take off my pants in the middle of the waiting room to get it done. They said, no, we need $1,000 or $2,000. So now we're starting to move towards, since these companies are like, wait a second, people aren't going to pay us on the back end. We're not even going to let you in. We're not going to go under. So you pay us first. So you need to be prepared to now have the thousands of dollars up front. If you had a bill and now you're getting billed and there's a bill sitting there on your desk or in your mailbox, I would definitely call the company and talk about payment plans. But for the love of God, don't give them the middle finger and say you're not paying. Because what I'm hearing from patients is when they call in the telemedicine companies and I'm like, okay, you're going to need your doctor to do the referral, or you're going to need to talk to your doctor about this, or you're going to need an exam, or you're going to need a test. They're like, my doctor won't see me. I'm like, why not? They're busy? No, I didn't pay a bill. So when you tell an industry that is not making the profits you think, especially the mom and pop doctor's office, okay? And, or as you see, like Denver Health, who needed money, emergency money infused from the government to keep themselves afloat. All right, they're going to have to make financial decisions. And if you are going to, if you're going to be a non-payer, I understand the ER might not be able to refuse you, but your appointments, why should they take you? Why should a surgical center take you as a patient? Now, I know some people are going to say, well, I'll go to a different surgical center. I have a bill. I get that from patients, too. They go, I need to go to another place because I owe them money. I owe them money. Well, okay. These places are there to save your lives. You really want to screw around with the individuals, the doctors, the anesthesiologists, the nurses, the companies that are there for you in an emergency. Do you really want there to be any hesitation because you've ignored their bills? Now, you don't get that scarlet letter if you're working with the billing company and if you're working with the accountant. And so if you say, look, okay, I understand, this won't affect my credit score, but I still want to make good. I just don't have the money. Can I make $5 payments a week? Can I make $25 payments a month? What could I do? Because I want you to get your money. I just don't have $2,000. I don't have $10,000. So I think Elon Musk and Trump are kind of re-looking at some of this. But when people don't pay their medical bills, eventually that company goes under. Eventually that doctor closes. I would venture to say 95% of you are not seeing the same doctor you had 10 years ago. Because of Obamacare, because people not paying their bills, because of the way the industry changed. Whatever happened to you having a doctor that you kind of grow up with and knows your body, knows your symptoms, that's some of the best care. I was trained in family medicine. Continuity of care is huge. Now the average person's like, I can't go here because I owe money. Or I have a bill over here. Or they sent me to collections. Or they, so paying your bill is part of it. The problem is we all have high bills because we all have high deductibles. We let the Affordable Care Act be a big, monstrous, crappy bill that had a couple good pieces in it. That's what they always do. The pre-existing condition clause was fantastic, making sure that we could finally get treated for pre-existing conditions. Having physical exams paid for. Temporarily expanding Medicaid during the recession. But that never sunsetted. Now it's just a leaky faucet, and insurance companies are charging us thousands a month for health insurance for $10,000+ deductibles. And we're stuck with it. No wonder we have medical debt. So I get it. After Biden, and I remember it was the Democratic primary with Beto O'Rourke. I think that was the 2016 primary where they were saying, let's write off student debt. Let's write off student debt. Now, all of a sudden, people are going, well, wait a second. I don't want to be the person that pays off my student loans the day before they wipe it off. And that's what I'm seeing now with people in medicine. They're like, if medical debt gets written off, why should I pay the bill? Because all those people, including Democrats, were ticked off. You saw them getting mad that they had just paid off their student loans, and all of a sudden now student loans are getting written off. They're like, so then students are saying, should I wait? Should I defer? Should I pay the barest minimum? See, I'm like, I want to get it out and done with. I don't want to owe anybody anything. But I got to tell you, if, you delay and kick the can down the road and procrastinate, and that ends up allowing you to have $10,000 or $20,000 more in your bank account, it starts to make you rethink. So now that's what we're having with medical debt. So patients are hesitating. They're like, well, maybe it's going to get written off and it doesn't hurt my credit score, so why pay? Well, what do you think that medical office is doing? And I got to tell you, when you have a medical issue, it is not easy to empty your pockets. When my husband got into an accident in Mexico, they wouldn't even help him. He was in a car accident when he was living in Mexico. He was teaching scuba diving down there in Cancun. And he gets into a car accident, and they wouldn't even touch him until he emptied out his pockets and paid them. All right? A lot of us don't have the money or cash on hand. And we've had a system that has been, look, use now, pay later. Now with this whole medical debt issue, we're bringing up the topic of, well, if I don't have to pay later, now it's going to be turned around saying you need to pay now. And I'm already having a problem with people not going into the doctor and getting their mammograms or their pap smears or their prostates checked. Every time I say, look, this is kind of worrisome. Your kid is turning blue. They go, but I'm going to have to pay $300. I don't have that. So Americans need to make a choice. Do they want medical debt written off, or do they want to be shaken down before they go into the doctor? 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for putting up with me. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Doc Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Remember we were talking about paper straws and how there were chemicals in them? I think this was back in 2023. We talked about how paper straws have forever chemicals, even worse than plastic straws. And I'm not a fan of the paper straw. One is I like the trees. Why are we ruining more trees to make paper straws? Number 2 is they become wet paper. And I feel like I'm swallowing paper. You're not supposed to be swallowing paper and those chemicals. And so a study published in 2023 in the journal Food Additives and Contaminants found evidence of forever chemicals, PFAS, per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, in a majority of both paper and bamboo straws. This was a study done in Belgium. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. So they tested 39 brands of straws. They looked at paper, bamboo, plastic, stainless steel. I talked about this study a while back. And of all the straws, almost all contained some concentration of these per and polyfluoroalkyl substances that apparently happened during the manufacturing to try to make them water resistant. Of 39 tested, the chemicals were detected in 27. Now, stainless steel were the safest, apparently. Paper straws were the most likely to contain the chemicals. 18 out of 20, or 90% of the paper brands. They were also found in 4 out of 5 bamboo straws. Now, this is not very eco-friendly. This is my problem. Listen, I love the environment. I worked for the EPA. I love the idea of protecting our earth. But I don't understand the logic liberals are using, saying this is something that helps the environment when it doesn't. I am not convinced that electric vehicles are what's stopping climate change. Electric vehicles have their own carbon footprint and emissions and tire waste and heaviness and electrical grid. I mean, lithium battery. These are not things that are environmentally friendly. And same thing, you're looking at paper straws. I thought we're trying to save the trees. They say the chemical most commonly found in these paper straws were perfluorooctanoic acid. Well, I was told by USA Today that was banned globally in 2020. So if that chemical is banned globally, and now we have in California paper straws all over the place, that's not very good. It bleeds from the straw into the drink because they're water soluble. So researchers think that manufacturers could intentionally be coating their plant-based straws in chemicals to make them water repellent. Yeah, because that's the thing. You're saying paper straws. Okay, you stick a piece of paper in water, you know what happened to your notebook paper. So in order to make paper work, you have to put so many chemicals, just like a veggie burger. To make vegetables taste like ground beef, you have to completely load it up with chemicals. The authors suggested further analysis and studies to be conducted to determine the primary source of contamination in the straws and how the chemicals may impact drinks and people consuming them. Absolutely. Well, Trump is beyond that. He's like, I'm sick of these. He says that this federal push by Biden to phase out single-use straws and to go to paper straws is a, quote, ridiculous situation. He signed an executive order that rolls back the previous administration's policy to phase out federal purchases of single-use plastics, including straws, from food service operations, events, and packaging by 2027, and from all federal operations by 2035. He says it's a ridiculous situation. We're going back to plastic straws. Now, here's the thing with that. I really wish we had something better and safer still than plastic. I think we are inundated with plastics. That is a problem. But when you're telling me that the paper straws are worse than plastic, what the hell are we doing with them? He said he's had them many times. Here's Trump. Trump says, I've had them many times, and on occasion they break and they explode. Now, I'm sorry. I love the guy. I'm sorry. But they don't explode. Have you guys ever seen a paper straw explode? Look, that's okay. It's okay. You know, I mean, when he rambles, it's fine. But my problem with it is I am tasting paper. I am eating paper. Now, he likes his Diet Coke. Apparently, he installed a button in the Oval Office in order to summon staff to deliver his Diet Coke. And his campaign sold reusable straws on the website, saying liberal paper straws don't work. Now, reusable straws, that is a concept that's, I'm mixed with the whole straw thing. I don't like to put my mouth on a glass if I don't have to, if it's somebody else's glass, and I don't like to put it on styrofoam and things like that. So I do like straws, but I don't need the extra plastic exposure. And I understand that one study showed stainless steel is safer, but stainless steel is expensive. But a stainless steel straw, you could clean. You could reuse. Now, bringing your own straw to a restaurant is not going to be practical. Look at what you all did with your reusable masks. You shouldn't have reused the masks. And it's interesting because with COVID, everything was disposable. You're going to throw this out, no more. I went to restaurants where they gave me paper. They gave me plastic spoons and forks. It was a restaurant. Paper menu, plastic spoon. And I'm like, how is this helping the environment? But they were doing it because of COVID. And, I understand the plastic straws are polluting the oceans. It is extra plastic that I don't think we need. Do we maybe need to just stop using straws? But the problem is people don't want to put their mouth on the glass. But if the glass is contaminated and dirty, it's already in the liquid. Now, mind you, I'm a straw person. I always ask for a straw. I just do. And somebody said it kind of affects your mouth muscles. I don't know. I also understand that you might have less teeth exposure or enamel exposure to the acidity if you use a straw, because you could direct it closer to the back of your throat, but if you swish it around your mouth. So I want to think about this more, but, back to plastic movement, I'm not ready to jump on either fully because I don't want us exposed to more plastic. But if I have a choice between a plastic straw and a paper straw, I choose plastic. I hate to say that. It's just I don't want to be swallowing paper and the chemicals in them. It's ridiculous. Remember, some of the masks were emitting chemicals. Remember I told you there was a study looking at the N95 masks, and they said you need to air it out because if you take an N95 mask out of the package, it has concentrated chemicals on them. So you need to let it breathe for 30 minutes. Well, if you let it breathe for 30 minutes, now it's getting dirty. So we are over-chemicalizing our stuff, and we need to figure out how to get back to basics. But people don't know how to wash their water bottles or their reusable shopping bags. So we need to figure something out. 1-877-DOC-DALI.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.